Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Antiquity, and welcome back to some more Starcraft 2. Spawning in the bottom right corner on Priyan Terraces as the blue Protoss is EricLuve. Might be EricLuve, who knows? It's going to be Eric now. And all of a sudden he going, you enemy, rush, attack. I have to wonder, what is he doing here? Okay. His opponent spawning in the upper left corner is Team Loco's Rushichiro, which I'm going to call Rush, otherwise I know I'm going to butcher the name all game long. And Eric just wanted to go off with Rush attack. Interesting. Who knows? Maybe he's trying to psych out Rush. And who knows? Could be something very interesting. Eric actually going for the early forge, so we might actually see some type of some cannon harassment or cannon contain coming out of Eric. What is Eric doing? Okay. Rush picking up the early expansion, something that I've definitely seen a lot of him do lately, is he'll go expansion first and then pick up the gas and drop his spawning pool afterwards. But he likes to get in that early macro game. Sure enough, we see some type of, well, I think we're going to see some cannon contain coming out of Eric. That's pretty much the only reason to drop a pylon this early into the game onto his opponent's base. The pylon actually getting built, but he's got to try and keep that probe alive if he intends to try and do any type of cannon contain. Sure enough, he gets one down. Rush is going to need to drop all those drones on that cannon if he wants to be able to bring it down before it gets built. And it looks like they're going to do just fine. Eric does manage to get another one dropped down. Unfortunately, Rush is not really focused on it. There he goes. Now he's starting to focus on it. And Eric's going to go ahead and try and build some more. So sure enough, he's going to go for that kind of cheesy cannon play that we're definitely seeing some Protoss players do. And something I wouldn't think to see in gold level play, which is what this is. Rush sent me these couple of replays for me to cast. He called these gold level shenanigans, and this is definitely some shenanigan play. This one's actually going to get built, and it's going to be in great range of that hatchery, really forcing Rush to not be able to put a whole lot of drones on this mineral line. Definitely something very cheesy coming out of Eric here. That's all he's gone for. He's just going for the cannon play. Does manage to get himself a couple of workers. And Rush is falling around that probe for some silly reason. Down goes a free overlord. And Eric's just going to bring in some more cannons. So unfortunately, though, if Rush can actually manage to kind of build up something behind this in his main base, he will actually be in the much more dominant position because Eric is not doing anything behind this. He's just kind of hoping that this cannon play is going to work out for him. Problem is what happens when it doesn't. And there's a good sporting chance that Rush might lose this hatchery. We do see some additional... He's got some static photons coming back in his main base, and he does go ahead and drop a gateway to start bringing out some gateway units. And he brings down an assimilator as well. So Rush actually managed to get 2 drones trained, but only gets 1 out of there with 1 health. This hatchery is pretty much going down. And look at this. Eric has decided to pick up an expansion, but he's going to do it way across the upper right corner of the map. That's interesting. Yeah, this hatchery is definitely going down. Kind of a sad thing to see, but Rush right behind all of this does pick up the additional gas. He looked like he was going to pick up... There it goes. He is going to pick up the additional gas and picks up a Roach Warren as well, so he is going to be able to break through this line just fine as soon as he builds up enough army to do so. So he decides to skip doing it with Lings, and he's just going to start to do it with Roaches. You see an additional gateway and additional gas coming down for Eric, although we don't see any type of units coming out as of yet. So I have to wonder what he's going to do behind all of this. And there's the Cybernetics core, so we can try to get gateway out. Try and get warp gate out, I'm sorry. I should know this, I play Protoss. Although, albeit, this is probably one of my worst matchups. Rush bringing down the evolution chamber, so he's definitely going to start to get some of the upgrades going as well. So previously, Rush was in the more dominant position because he had that additional hatchery. Unfortunately, Eric did manage to take it down through some cheesy play and actually bring up his own nexus across the map, although why he's got it way out here, don't know. If Rush actually ever catches wind that this is way over here in the corner, it will be forfeit. Rush does have a couple of roaches, but I don't think now is the right time to push out with it. 3 roaches is not going to take down 4 cannons. He's going to have to wait for a couple more to come in. And there's there's Eric starting on the warp gate tech and the mothership core, so he's definitely trying and come up with just some standard units behind all of this. And Rush just building up his roach army to try and take down those cannons that's kind of forcing him to stay in his base. And we're going to see a little bit of a push out. I think he's actually just kind of doing a little bit of scouting around to make sure there isn't any type of silliness sitting in his base. He's going to try and get a little bit of creep spread. Sadly, that's actually in range of the cannons. I know he wanted to do that for the speed, but here we go. He's definitely got enough roaches to try and break through this. He'd do a lot better if he actually focused on the pylons. He'd lose a lot less units. Does manage to take one down. Problem is, at what type of cost did he manage to do it? Eric managed to get some workers going on up at this second base. I'm not going to call that as natural. That's not as natural. That's not a natural. That's way across the map. It's even close to a natural. So he's actually going to start to bring out... Oh, there we go. Rush does manage to get the spine crawler in range of the pylon. He's managed to take this down with a little bit more ease. Take down the pylon and then start picking off the cannons. Probably he's going to have one more pylon that he's going to have to deal with before that's all going to go down. Eric playing very defensively. Almost seemed like he's turtling just a little bit. And that is a lot of cannons for just sitting on one base as some static defense. And here's the push out from Rush. He's going to manage to break through all of this. I'm still kind of intrigued why he didn't go for the pylon and shut all that down, but he does manage to break through it all. So he's going to shut down any type of scouting from Eric, and he's going to manage to expand all right behind that and get back on track where he wants to be. Although if he wants to get back, I think if he wants to get back in the command and lead, he's going to have to take a third, but he does bring in 5 Ravagers. So he's going to push out and see if he can't try and get some damage done himself. We see a lot of static defense coming out of Eric. Something you definitely don't normally see. I mean, this is Gold League, so I understand that it's not, top level play here, but even at Gold League, I wouldn't expect to see stuff like this. Rush again picking up the Hydralisk Den, so he's going to start to bring in Hydra in the play, or we may just be having that in case he needs the option. He does have the macro hatch as well to try and catch up behind all of this and what happened to him. But Eric does manage to fully get this base going. He's actually going double Stargate and Dark Templar, and he's going to start to bring out the Void Rays, and he actually boosted that one out. So we're going to see some very interesting play from Eric. This is the kind of thing that I would do. I wouldn't bring it way over here, but I would definitely try and hide that Dark Shrine, because I love DTs. I think they're a lot of fun to play, and definitely a lot of fun to play with. And unfortunately, at this point in time, Rush doesn't have any idea about it. He's got no type of detection, and again, Eric just trying to psych out his opponent, I think. Rush coming down here for looking at what should be the third and kind of wondering, why is there no third base here? I knew he hasn't had a chance to scout in and check to see if there's even a natural, but you would think, at 8 minutes into it, he'd see at least a third, and there's a couple of Dark Templars for Eric, so he's going to try and get a little bit of damage done with his 5 DTs. Then I have to imagine here shortly he's going to roll into Rush's lines and try and take him down. And unfortunately, there is no type of detection for Rush. No Overseer, no Spore Crawler, which is not terribly surprising. He's got no reason to think that there would be any type of shenanigans like that. But he is sitting on a small little army of some Ravagers and a couple of Lings, and he's got that nice static defense of a couple of Spine Crawlers. There's what should be the Spore Crawler. Sure enough, now he's got a little bit of detection, which is right about the perfect time, seeing as how Eric has decided to roll out with his DTs. Eric checking to see if there's any additional bases, or he may just be stashing them there for a quick second. And we see a proxy pylon coming in from the middle of the map, and Eric actually taking out picking up another expansion again, all the way across the map and nowhere near his main base. I think he's trying to keep these hidden from Rush. Rush does have that Spore Crawler up and finished, so he's going to know if those DTs come running in, he's going to see them. And unfortunately, they do have to get past this line first. And the second they get within range, they're going to get spotted. They're going to try and do a little bit of damage, but Rush obviously knows that they're there, so he knows DTs are in play. So I think we're going to start to see the morph in for some Overseers. And it looks like he's going to pick up another Dark Shrine. Sure enough, he built another Dark Shrine over here in the event that Rush sees all of this and takes it down. He wants a backup, I guess. Certainly not a very common play that you see out of Protoss players, that Void Ray Dark Templar play. That's not all that common. But okay. And Rush actually picking up Overlord speed. I imagine he's going to want to pick that up for the Overseers, excuse me, or he may be going for some type of drop play, which would be certainly something very interesting to see. He does move that Spore Crawler a little bit closer to the ramp, so that if those DTs come running back up, he'll actually have a spot for it. Eric does have one Oracle running across the map. He might be trying to come in through the back side of everything and see if he can get a little bit of economic damage on his opponent. Looks like that's well, thought that's what he was going to do. Looked like that's what he was going to do, but he's just going to hold it back there for some strange reason. Rush is sitting on a very sizable army. 63 to Eric's 51, although Rush is behind in worker supply. So should this army go down, sure enough, that Oracle comes in to try and do a little bit of damage, although I think it's focused on the wrong unit. It should have been focused on those workers, not on the Queen, because down it goes within seconds. Bad play there by Eric. He should have focused on those workers, would have done infinitely more damage. Eric actually brought in a cannon here in the middle of the map. My guess is there to protect the pylon. Unfortunately, down it goes. And so does the pylon and the probe. That was just kind of forfeit, pretty much. Do see a fleet beacon coming in from Eric. I almost have to wonder, and part of me is kind of hoping he'll play carriers. Being a Protoss player myself, I love it to see carriers. I think they're fantastic units, although they're really expensive. And just not something you usually see in the meta these days. We do have a huge army of Void Rays. Look at that, folks. A ton of Void Rays, 9 of them are going to come rolling into Rush's base, and Rush is way out of position. He's only got a couple of units here to try and protect a couple of Queens. I'm not even sure he's got a Spore Crawler in here. Doesn't look like he does. Down go those Queens. That macro hatch is probably going down. Rush decides, screw it, I'm going in too. And he just decides to push in. Problem is that, oh, there's the... excuse me, there's the overcharge coming from the Mother Core. Down goes his second hatch as well. Oh man, Eric just coming in here and gutting Rush with just those Void Rays. Rush deciding he's going to have to run back. He's going to try and take a third, but he's got no detection, and down go the DTs, forcing the cancel. But he's going to come in range, and there the Overseers to see those DTs. They're going to get surrounded, and they may go down if they're not carefully microed. Those are expensive units. Down they go. But Eric just sitting on those ton of Void Rays, and he's going to start going for Rush's Overlords to try and get himself some supply. Forcing Rush to have to remake those would just do some serious economic damage this late in the game. Problem is that Rush has those Hydras, and if he doesn't keep those Void Rays out of range, those Hydras are going to do a ton of damage. So just occasionally picking off, but it looks like he's going to stash those Void Rays up at the corner or bring them back down to try and do some additional damage in the mineral line, but Rush knows that's coming. Down goes one assimilator, down goes one extractor, I apologize, but Rush is there to push it back. And out of those 9 Void Rays that we saw, we still see them all. Rush hasn't actually managed to pick any of them off, and this base just getting thoroughly up and running. He did pick up the fleet beacon. I imagine that's only just to create some additional options for himself rather than actually try and transition to anything else, as he hasn't yet, and he's floating almost 3,000 minerals. Eric's going to try and do some additional damage here. Rush is going to have to run back in as quickly as he can to try and pick off a couple more. He doesn't quite manage to do it, unfortunately. Rush does need to be dropping some Spore Crawlers right here to try and get some additional static defense to at least slow down some of those units a little bit. And Eric still wanting to go with that DT play. Something I would do. Very tenacious with Dark Templar. I love using them. And we see those Void Rays trying to play it a little bit more harassed. Problem is going to go right into the line of those Hydras. He does manage... Rush does manage to finally pick off 4 of those Void Rays that have been just kind of plaguing him for way too long now. So he does manage to thin out that army a little bit, but here are those Dark Templar. They're going to start to come in. Nope, they're just going to do a little bit of scouting, actually. we actually see, coming from Eric, the Tempest play, which is kind of what I thought as well. If he's queued up a ton of Tempest. I think he was just trying to do that to sink his money out of his minerals because he was floating so many. So we're going to start to see Tempest play, and then the Anion Pulse Crystals, which increases Phoenix attack range, but he's not doing Phoenix. And he's researching Graviton Catapult, which is for the carriers, but he's not doing carriers either. So I think Eric is just going for the build everything strategy. You know, whatever it is, build it. That's what he's going for. And still trying... What is... I don't know what he's doing there. Rush. Oh, he's trying to go for a rush. Oh, got it. I couldn't tell what he was trying to say. Eric again picking up another base way over here in the corner. It seems like, you know, I've seen a couple other players do this too, is that they want to pick up another base nowhere near their natural. They're all for expanding, not at their natural. They're trying to keep everything hidden from their opponent and try and do some type of cheeky play to throw them off. There we go. There are the additional spore crawlers coming from Rush, so he can actually start to move his army away from all of this and try and do some type of damage onto Eric, as he actually doesn't know about anything. The only thing he knows about is just this one base here. He doesn't know about these others. And Rush dropping 3 spore crawlers back here in this corner, so he's pretty much going to force those Void Rays to stay exactly where they are so he can start working towards his other units. And Rush being forced to rebuild a couple of his buildings, as they were picked off earlier by those Void Rays. There's the Hydralisk Den, so he's going to be able to train more of those as well. There are the DTs. Problem is, he doesn't have any type of Overseers currently with him, so he's not going to be able to spot those DTs. So he's just going to come back to his main base for just a quick moment. I imagine he's going to start to bring in a couple of Overseers. Sure enough, there they are. And we'll actually get a little bit of detection going on, but we do have a couple more DTs coming in. I have to wonder, he knows his opponent's using DTs. Why doesn't he have a Spore Crawler here? Because down go all of the drones that were sitting at his third. The Overseers do manage to come in and start following those DTs, and the Hydra start to spit at them, but they're going to get out of range too fast. While at the same time, the Void Rays are going to start to come in, but they're going to be honest to just slam down those Spore Crawlers, but it did hold him back long enough for Rush to get his army back in here before it did too much damage on his mineral line. Is he managed to pick any off? He does manage to get 2 more down. He just managed to pick off a couple more before forcing those Void Rays back into that corner, back into that hiding place. But we do see, look at this, we do see 8 Tempests just sitting off to the side from Eric. He is going the mass Protoss Air play, and those Tempests just do a ton of damage from a long distance. So if Rush isn't careful, they're really going to spank him a little bit. Rush rolling out with a huge army. Problem is, the only thing it doesn't have is an Overseer, as he knows his opponent is running. Oh, there's his Overseers. Never mind. Down go this little squad of DTs. They don't stand a chance. And Eric did force Rush to lose that base. Eric just kind of forcing his opponent to stay on 2 bases while he's got 4, my apologies. Really forcing his opponent on 2 bases and just kind of limiting his options. He's going to be able to run it with those Tempests, and sure enough, there it goes. He's going to be able to run it with these Tempests and just do a ton of damage. 10 Tempests are coming in, and look at the range on those things. He is going to do a ton of damage. Well, at the same time, look at this. Rush is going to run down to this base that he knows is there and try and do a little bit of damage. He's just going to start to slam down all of these buildings. This base is pretty much forfeit. Problem is, behind all of this, we do see Eric bringing in all of his Tempests to start shutting down all of Rush's units and buildings. And the Void Rays come plowing in as well. It's almost kind of like a base race. Problem is, Rush doesn't know about the other 2 bases that are hiding off to the side. And Eric just sitting with a commanding air army. And while Rush does have the correct units to try and counter that, it is way too late. It's way out of position, and Rush thinks he's going to do some base racing. The problem is that his supply is way limited, and Eric is just going to plow through all of his buildings. He's only got the 1 hatchery left, and the 1 spawning tool and Roachwarren for tech. He does know about this base. He'll probably spot this base. Sure enough, he does. He does spot this base as well, so he knows they're there, and so he decides to divert off to it. There's so many bases. Problem is, Rush has just lost his last hatchery. He's got just enough minerals to make another hatchery, but I don't think he's got any type of drones. He does actually have 5 drones floating around. Eric's sitting on too many units to try and push in. Rush, unfortunately, he's attempting to do the base race because that's all he can do. All he can do is force the base race. Problem is, Eric's got too many air units. Eric is just sitting in that commanding Protoss air. Look at this. Rush does manage to pick up 1 hatchery down in the bottom right corner that Eric doesn't know about. Eric has no idea this is sitting down here. So very, very smooth play by Rush to try and stay alive just a little bit longer and still try and force the base race. Problem is, if this army comes anywhere near that hatchery, it is game over. I'm actually kind of surprised that Rush is trying to hold on to all of this. He's just determined to say, no, I refuse to give in to you and your silly cannon rush tactics crap. Down goes 1 Tempest. And we see that massive air army. Eric doing the same thing, trying to pick up another base to try and stay alive a little bit longer. And here we go. Oh, nope. Rush is going to go back the other direction. That was interesting. I thought we might see some type of engagement here. But we're going to see Rush come up here to this top corner and want to pick up a couple of free units, and he's definitely going to do so. 3 DTs and a Void Ray. Down they go. Uh-oh, here we go. I think they spotted it. They did. They spotted that hatchery, and it is going down. So by sheer doing it the hard way, Eric won out on this game by destroying all of Rush's units. This is something you definitely don't see a whole lot often these days. You don't see that type of deathmatch play where you've got to destroy everything your opponent has. Normally you see some type of GG, but Rush refusing to go down. He was just wanting to stick with it and stay into it and see if he can't try and come back from it, although couldn't really see that being possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you in the next one.